Well, hello there. My name's Ray. I'm with Team S.t.e.a.m. Today I'm here at Flash Industrial Painting because I'm going to begin tackling a few of the issues with this heavy-duty utility bed mounted on this truck. This is a water division truck for a neighboring town, and what we've got is a bed that's on it is plagued with quite a few issues that need addressed. Well, then first of all, we've got some rust poking through. Looks like the entire bed is actually cracked right there, so that's probably going to need some real attention. Somebody else has come in and painted it before. I blew this off with a cold, not very powerful pressure washer. It's like 2200 psi or something. Cold water. Okay, and I got that to come off. I could have sat and worked a lot of this off if I wanted to waste my entire day doing it. We got clear back into there with it. And that's going to be regrettable. And then up here you can see we've got more rust. This is just, I mean, to anybody watching this that thinks that an 1/8 of an inch or 1/4 of an inch of bed liner on something, it offers just that much more protection, you are dead wrong. I've told customers for years, I will not put that stuff on that thick. I put on as thick as the manufacturer recommends, and that's it. I don't go thicker than that. And that's why. You're not protecting anything. All you're doing is allowing rust to do what it needs to do right behind this. So when you look down here, and then like right here, this stuff's an 1/8 of an inch thick at least. This right here, real thick. This all came off. Here's what's left. Super tough. But somebody didn't prep it right or whatever. And you look right here. This is a good 1/8 inch thick. There's proof, if you need to see it, how this stuff looks once moisture gets underneath it. It doesn't matter if it's a 1/4 inch thick or an 1/8 inch thick. And I've argued a few times with customers over it. I just flat won't do it. We'll put this kind of product on, but not ridiculous like that. And that's why, right there, that's why. So that's one of the issues. I'm gonna need to strip all of the coating off of this. All of this heavy undercoater on everything. And then of course the entire paint job. Because as you can see, looking at the side there, it's not adhered very well. I can't put my paint job on top of it and then guarantee it. So here's another good example of how much protection you get from this rubberized coating. Look how thick that is. That's a good 1/8 of an inch. Look how much protection it's given. This rust is by far thicker than this. When this was put on, only a few years ago, this was brand new, and now the rust is thicker than the coating itself. This is almost a 1/4 inch of rust right here. I've tried, I don't know, a dozen of them over the years, maybe more. And this is the only one that still works. Quite a few of them used to work, but then laws changed some stuff, which is fine. The environment's the most important thing. But of the remaining ones, this is the only one that takes off almost everything I ever go to combat with it. And even it takes time. And so here it is about, 3 or 4 hours later. It's bubbling up pretty good. So here we are the next morning. You can see it's bubbled up quite a bit. The front isn't as much as I had hoped, but the top's pretty good. That's the way I kind of thought the front would look. I mean, just based on how it's been going. The bottom's bubbling up decent. It's awfully thick, so I figured it'd be a while getting through that stuff. I mean, they basically just turned this into a bathtub of it. You can see that's bubbling pretty darn good. It's almost completely ready to come off. Same with this. Come off in sheets. And here's how that stuff's coming off. Mostly in one sheet.
Chemicals stripped it down enough that it's starting to disintegrate a little more down this way.
Yeah, just in sheets. So all we have left here is what's in the bottom, and it's coming loose. The sides are pretty well stripped. Those railings on the top are stripped. The bumper's becoming stripped. You can see it's coming up in sheets. Smaller sheets, but sheets nonetheless. So we've gone ahead and pulled this door and gotten rid of all the stuff that was in here, the toolbox that was on top of the toolbox. Got rid of all that out of here. Did the same thing over here, pulled these two doors and this door, and there was a bunch of stuff in here. Big set of toolboxes in here, pulled all that stuff out. And now that all that stuff is unbolted and taken out, and we've got all this vacuumed out and we're ready, this is what I was talking about. This brace runs straight down, and that's the problem. It breaks right alongside it. It's just not been engineered well. It's not nearly as heavy duty as it needs to be to do what these beds do. That's a fact. And this is all one piece with this. So I have to cut it here or here or both, and then across here, and then get it out of there. That's why I had to empty everything out of here, because I already tried to get that brace out of the other side without taking things out, and it was very, very, very difficult. And I said, this just isn't going to work. I still have welding to do in here. This is the same way. To cut this one here, and here, or both, and across the bottom as well, and get that piece out of here, because it's done the same thing. It cracks right alongside it. It's just a poor design. This one's going to go on this side, and one exactly like it here is going to go on the other side, where we have a very similar break in the exact same spot. Now this one, which is less than 1/8 of an inch thick but very strong metal, is going to go up here on the back side of this. It'll sit like this, but on the back side. That way the hinges can go through it as well without it being super thick metal and pointless. I mean, pointlessly thick metal for, you know, hinges and everything else to have to be drilled through. But it'll sit like this, just only on the other side. Now back here, it's very similar. It's just cracked right through their brace and their structure. And what I've done is I've come up with very strong steel, but about only 1/8 inch thick. This one's going to span the crack right here with all this metal cleaned up, and it's all going to get welded. And then these ones are going to go here, and then one exactly like it is going to go here. And then I'm going to weld the whole thing together. Then I'm going to take that remaining crack that you can see that runs down there and weld down it just as far as I can, because I can't take this off. This is all, this is welded to this, is welded straight to the bumper. And you know that because you can see the darkness where they welded it. I mean, this is all one piece. I would have to get out a cutting torch if I want to separate this from this, or unbolt the bed entirely and pull the entire bed up off the truck. That's the only way I can get to all of this. So I'm going to weld down as far as I can, put a brace there, and then a brace that's twice as long up here. So, and that should be the last they see of that. Here is the way this one looks once I've got that torn out of there. You can see, like I said, that brace is gone now. Now I can go ahead and clean all this up and weld in my piece. You can see it's all prepped now, and there's a bunch on the other side like this too. And then I just traced this shape on the inside of here with a marker, so I knew right exactly where to prep, because I still want paint on this side to be touching the paint that is still on the back side of this thing. There's some paint on there, and rather than just raw metal sitting there waiting to rust. So I prepped it exactly where it needs to be so I can weld, and there's still going to be paint between the two. Over here, same thing. Got a big crack there, a crack that runs horizontally there, another big crack, vertical one there, a couple of them there, a couple of decent sized cracks there. And I can't plate the backside of that. This has a plate on the inside that's a 1/2 inch in from this. So you can't get near it. Technically, you can't get near it. And that's the design, the folded metal design they have in here. You can't get near a lot of this top stuff. It's got plates back there that keep you from a 1/2 inch out, in fact. But here's this one. Good size crack all the way around. I'll just be welding that from the outside as well. All these will be from the outside. And this one, of course, I'll weld the plate, which has already been traced and prepped on the inside. You can see how I selectively prepped it just in the spots where I intend to weld it. And everything else is paint. Just fine for what I'm doing here. And I've done that on all these. Okay, so now I've got these welded up. I welded this one up from the outside. Then I welded this on the inside. Welded that one up from the outside. I can't get to the inside of that one. Welded this one up from the outside and the inside. Again, I put another patch in there. And then this one here I could only get to from the outside. And same with this one. Now I'm going to go to the other side. Now here we've got this all welded up, put in those 3 little panels. Now they're all welded up solid. Now welded down as far as I can comfortably reach. So they shouldn't hear from that crack again. So all the welding's done. Now on the back side here, I've gone ahead and prepped it and then just spray painted it with a primer paint all in one. And I've done that to all 3 of them. We've got both of these doors off, getting ready to pull even more doors off. We'll probably end up pulling all the damn doors off by the time this is done. But here's the other, we spray painted that, or I did. And the other one. So they're all welded in, all secure, all prepped and painted. Now I'm going to continue pulling doors. It was never my intent to pull all the doors on this, but for one thing, they're all held on with rivets. And I really don't have a problem with rivets. Rivets are strong. We use them all the time. But just 5 rivets to hold on what feels like a 60 to 80 pound door. These doors are surprisingly heavy. They don't look like they're going to be well over 50 pounds, but they are. And that's an awful lot of weight for those. The one down here had the rivet just popped off, one of the 2 rivets. So I'm going to go ahead and just, that's one of the reasons. But the other reason I'm pulling the doors is because all this corrosion, it's actually bubbled up a lot. You can always hear the difference when something's bubbled up underneath it. And this needs to be drilled and taken off. And all of this needs to be cleaned up. And the best way to do it is just go ahead and pull the damn doors, get them out of the way, and go from there. All right, so at this point, we've got all the doors pulled. All the repairs involving welding are made. The toolboxes are all put back on this side, as well as this side. Everything's all put back right where it was, bolted in place. I'm not the one that put that shelf in crooked. That was just already there. But all the doors are off, and now we're ready for that phase. And here's some of the only body work I'm going to be doing on this. This was an actual dent. So these doors are about ready for some primer. What I've done is, you can see that one is white, and the rest of these are gray. That's because that one came off the passenger side, and the rest of these came off the driver's side. And that driver's side is the one that was painted literally with spray paint. All right, so we got all this blasting done. As you can see, we went to bare metal, like I said I would. All of this down here, all of this, the back side of it. And then in here, it was on there good and thick like I knew it was, but as you can see, all the trouble spots, we went ahead and got to bare metal. There's some of this stuff left behind I'll take off with a scraper or wire brush. And then we'll get to priming in here. Okay, now here we've got all the primer on. I'm gonna go ahead and, this was yesterday, so I'm gonna go ahead and get my sander out, sand all this stuff down, both sides, on the back, and then I'm gonna sand these doors down too, which I've moved to a different location. The doors are down here. This is that piece that goes on the very top there, and it's gonna be black, and I won't paint it until tomorrow. So it's gonna be a good spot to lean all these doors. I'll finish sanding them all out today, or resand them, and we'll get them shot today as well. All right, so I forgot to bring you guys along for part of the priming process, which is already underway. I've got all 9 of these doors primed. I don't have the rest of it primed yet, so I'll bring you along for that. So we got everything primed. Now it's time to go ahead and give everything a wipe down and get it painted. All right, I got the doors painted. Again, I forgot about you guys. Sorry about that. I got the doors painted. I'm just getting started on the box here. We'll let you in on that at least. All right, so I got the painting done yesterday. The guys will be here any minute. It's the next morning. And now what we're gonna do is we're gonna mask off all of the specific white areas that I want to remain white. We decided instead to go ahead and mount the doors first. We have this one we have yet to do. All right, so you can see we've got the headache rack masked up. What we've done is we just threw a bed sheet over it and then wrapped plastic around that. Same thing here, bed sheet, plastic, same thing here. The reason I do that with bed sheets is because this paint is perfectly dry, 100% dry. It was yesterday. But within the first 3 days or so, if you put this automotive plastic on it, what'll end up happening is it will stick to it ever so slightly. You won't even hardly notice it. Then when you go to unmask it, you'll notice that the outer gloss has the slightest film on it. Not really a film, but I mean, it looks like it does. And then you have to painstakingly buff all that out. Or a bed sheet under it, or something like that. And it will never stick in the paint, and the paint will be as glossy as it would ever need to be. But plastic does leave evidence on fresh paint. And that's just something we don't go for, so this is the way we do it. And this guy's ready. I'm going to shoot all of it and then tip it down to shoot the backside. And then I've got all the other stuff hung up. 3 things there, 4 things there, and then this bracket here in the center. Make it, these aren't going to be undercoated. These are just going to be black paint. And this is going to be undercoated. So you about ready to get some primer on? Well, let's get some primer on. All right, so it's the next morning. Boys will be here any minute. We've got to unmask all this stuff here, do any touch-up that might need to be done, and finish putting anything back on it that needs put back on it. We got some brackets that I painted black, you know, because some of the things I coated and some of the things I painted, and the things I painted still need to be bolted back on. There's a few things. We have this whole entire upper rack that needs to go back on. So we have a few things that have got to go back on this truck, but we'll be wrapping this one up here this morning probably. Oh, we're starting to get it unmasked here. Just getting going. All right, this one's finished. The boys from the water department are already on their way down to get it. It's about an hour away. They'll be here within a half hour. We'll go ahead and walk around it quick before they show up. All right, you remember this was all chipped up and coming off. This was spray painted. All this was spray painted. This was badly cracked. Had a crack down there. These doors were all riveted on. These had tiny little rivets, most of which, the vast majority of which, all but about 2, had worked their way back out. So I put in some real rivets. All of this was all chipped up in a mess. This was just a giant mess. It had 1/8 of an inch or more of that stuff on it that was coming off in different sorts of sheets at different places. Same with back here, coming off everywhere. This had the black that came down to here. I moved that location. It came down to here or even here. And I moved that location. This crack, gone, completely gone. They'll never see that one again. However, they probably will see it on this side because this bed has been built by fools. Designed by fools and built by fools.